what are some of the things that you learnt out of this as a project? What are the takeaways for you out of this?
Well, my husband's would be never again, and mine is when we're going to do the next one. I'm very passionate as an architect, and I bring that passion to construction as well. Yeah, natural light to me, again, is a luxury. As a builder, I'm only ever as good as my subbies.
One of the things that I love about it is it's actually got a series of outdoor zones where you can, you can have a party of 2 or 3 or 4, and experience the outdoors in a different way.
Welcome back to another episode of Made to Build, powered by the HIA. Today we're stepping inside the head of a master architect and builder from Queensland. Richard, tell us more.
All right, so this is good, mate, because we've got Sarah Waller from Sarah Waller Architecture, and she has actually won the HIA 2025 Home of the Year.
Wow!
Congratulations, well done, Sarah.
Thank you.
It's incredible.
So tell us, what was the major inspiration for this project for you?
Originally, we moved to Australia about 20 years ago, so I'm an architect from the UK, as you can obviously hear. I come from a construction background. My dad was a builder, so spent lots of time on site. And during my architectural career in London, I was a project-based architect on a big commercial project, so gained heaps of experience there. And then decided that there was something better out there, and we decided that we'd migrate with our young family to Australia. So started off an architectural practice, and then we had a challenge where we were building a house in Noosa waters, and our builder sort of disappeared on us. So I then approached the QBCC and asked how difficult it would be for me to have a builder's licence. So I then gained a builder's licence, and I have an open, which allows me to do any type of construction, but I choose to specialise in residential. So we lived on acreage on the same road, actually, in Dune, maybe 5 doors along. The house was really well publicised. It did win a number of the Sunshine Coast HIA awards when I entered it in that category. And I felt I got to a point in that house where it gave me all the exposure, all the publicity. It brought me in projects as an architect, and I thought I'd like to challenge myself and stretch myself and go again, much to my husband's horror. So we searched for a property, and this one was actually had a low set house on it, a brick veneer house that didn't really have any value to us. And I knew the road, it backs onto a rural golf course.
Awesome.
So which is sort of reminiscent of the English countryside, sort of rolling hills. So we know when you're on a golf course, you've got never-ending views. So that was really important. And I just wanted to sort of raise the benchmark architecturally, and at the time I wanted to stretch myself as a builder, and I certainly did that.
So how many projects have you completed before you had done this one?
In terms of our own homes, we've had 1, 2, 3. This is our 4th home that in Australia, and 2 of which I built and 1 partially built, because that's when I lost that builder. So I then got my licence and finished that build off. And then I've built for a number of architectural clients. But now I've got so busy with my architectural side that I mainly focus on our own projects, because it's very difficult. I'm very passionate as an architect, and I bring that passion to construction as well. And I'm one of those people that's all in, and I find it difficult to split my time between 2 sides of the business. Sarah Waller building, I like to be on site all the time. And
you're not exclusively an architect or a builder, you dabble in both.
Yes, that's correct. Fingers in both pies.
That would have some really big upsides.
And some downsides. As an architect, I know when we found the piece of land and I started designing, it was just revision after revision, and I thought I was improving it was getting better, and it was getting more complex. And then I can remember Paul just saying, we've got to start. Like we're at revision Z. You've got to start. You've got to stop designing. You will go on for 2-3 years. We've got to start the build. So we decided to build just after COVID. So the end of sort of 21/22, and it started raining, and it didn't stop raining for 6 months. So we had 6 months of solid rain. And I think you may have seen some pictures of me just sitting there in despair like this, thinking, when's this ever going to stop? And we rented, we had a large house like this, 5 doors along, but we went into a granny flat rental in between. So we were condensed into this really small space. And when we'd wake up in the night and it'd be raining, we just, because it was when we're trying to get the slab down.
Yeah, yep.
And as you know, on a sloping block, a slab pour isn't just one single pour, it's probably 5 or 6 pours. So slab retaining waterproofing, slab retaining waterproofing. And 6 months after we started, I just thought, what have we done? Why have we started this mammoth monster of a project, 1,000 square metre house in this continuous sort of like monsoon conditions? Because where we are in Noosa, it's almost like or Dune, it's like a little microclimate, so it rains an awful lot, and hence the reason it's so lush and green.
So speaking on concept to completion, you said you started designing in 2021.
Probably before that, probably 2020, when we weren't locked down during COVID.
Okay,
we had freedom and
when was
we
the
carried on
completion
working.
date?
So it took me 6 months to get the slab down, as I mentioned, and then the builder's 10 months. So I'm super organised as a builder. And the last house, which was maybe 700 square metres, was a 6-month build.
Yep.
So I'm very driven. And that's the skill I believe I bring to a site as a builder, is my organisation skills.
So project management?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So because I'm so wrapped into the design, I know every product. If it's coming from Italy, I've got to get it in from Italy. I've got to then allow for it to get through customs, and I've got to get it onto site. So in this instance, I hired a storage unit in Noosa. And so anything that had a long procurement time, I would make sure it was there sitting in my storage unit, ready to go. Because we were at the end of COVID when we had all those supply chain issues.
Yeah.
For instance, the roof structure was designed on LVLs, and we couldn't get LVLs. No.
Yeah.
So we then had to go back to the engineer, and then it was redesigned all in structural steel. So that cost obviously was an issue for the project. And then along with my very pointed roof detail was somewhat of an issue as well.
So I imagine on a project like this, the nature of it, and this sort of goes to your comment before about both architect and builder, there would always be temptations to drift to a new thing, to drift off budget, to drift, to have scope creep. Mm-hmm. How did you manage that? Because it's often if it's a discussion within your own head, fundamentally. How do you sort of deal with that? Are you able to stick to those timelines? Because clearly you executed it very quickly.
Well, also throw in that I'm the client as well.
Yeah, well,
so
yeah,
that's
exactly.
there's another sort of facet there.
Maybe it makes it
makes
easier.
it more. I don't know, because there's only one person. When it goes wrong, it falls squarely on my shoulders, doesn't it? So I try and pass it on to my husband's shoulders, but sometimes it was clearly my own. Yeah. I can remember.
Is that in building issues, design issues? What does that come back to?
Both. As architects, I don't think we're ever perfect. We're learning as we go. We make mistakes. There's issues in the house, not from a construction point of view, but there's things that I probably would have done differently from a design point of view. And then construction-wise, if you look at the column that's closest to us there, it's sitting on a former tube pier. I can remember having to have that cut down 3 times, and I thought, how can I get that one dimension wrong that many times? And every time the concrete cutter would come in, he'd laugh and say, well, at least it's a cheap mistake.
I'm just wondering if you might step us through some of the photos of the project now, because it'd be really great to just understand a little bit about the concept, the design, the build, all of those things. Now, this particular photo here, it's obviously of the outdoor area and the swimming pool. And can you just help us? Which way is north in this?
So it's a north-facing house. So north is behind us. So north is the golf course.
Yeah.
And as you're aware, I'm from the UK. So for us to be able to create these big acreage homes like this, I really wanted it to be like a resort. So we work very long hours. We're very committed to both of our businesses. Our only time to relax is when we travel, and we're drawn to sort of contemporary hotels. And if I thought I could create a resort-style home, and I know it's very cliche saying, but I believe this is a true sort of reflection of a resort, that is a mini version of a hotel, then maybe at the weekends we can wind down, we can sit by the pool, we can take one of those reserved labels off of that sun lounge and sit down and not be in trouble for being the first ones to sit there. And we've got a lovely sunken fire pit there, as you can see. So very much a resort-style home, expansive, just the way it sits in the landscape. It's a sloping block, stepping down, and it's designed in a way, it's a series of pavilions. And I think you'd see that.
I was about to say, one of the things that I love about it is it's actually got a series of outdoor zones where you can, you can have a party of 2 or 3 or 4 and experience the outdoors in a different way.
And the first line on the piece of paper as a sketch, as a concept, as an architect, was my off-form concrete wall. So that literally is a spine. So from that spine, we then have a series of pavilions that are cantilevered off of it. So that concrete wall was a very expensive element and beautifully executed. And I wanted to be able to see and touch and feel that concrete wall from both sides in every area. So the first pavilion that you enter when you come in from the entry area is the sort of entry area that then hangs off of the bedroom pavilion. So that's the one that runs parallel sort of east-west.
Where is that in reference to this photo?
So that is in the back corner. So that's my studio at the very end. So there we go. You can see my studio there.
Yep.
And then that's our master suite. So that's separated, you can see, with that off-on concrete wall. And we have a beautiful tropical courtyard because, again, all those tropical plantings are very unique to us, that we're English, we don't have that beautiful landscape.
Yeah.
We don't have swimming pools in England. So all of those things I consider as true luxury still. And then we've got a little sort of courtyard under roof there beside the bedroom. And I wanted the bedroom to be, I don't camp. I haven't camped, but that's my glamping room. It's just a transparent
It's pretty
box.
posh glamping.
Yes,
Glamping is an understatement.
Yes. So yes, I just wanted to wake up and feel like I was outside in the garden, and then the only separation is the glass. We very rarely close the shears because we have total privacy. Nobody can overlook us, and if they do, they're only going to look once, aren't they?
And so from that outdoor area, you're looking out onto the golf course, which would be stunning to look at.
And it's always going to be manicured, a golf course, and nobody's going to build in front of you. So you're always guaranteed that outlook.
Yeah.
And like I say, it's a rural golf course. It's not very often played, so we may only get a dozen people on there a week. And they're more interested in looking for their balls that they've lost on that hole than looking into the house.
Yeah.
How did you go about managing the thermal requirements of the home? Because there's so much glass in it.
An awful lot of insulation. Ichiku, we call it. Normally I get my husband and his boys, because we get his boys to jump in and help do things other than electrical. And he said, this time we're going to get an insulation guy in. And so it's jam-packed full of insulation. But the big eaves overhang helps so much. I've got 4 metres of outdoor roof there.
Yep.
And as an architect, we designed to harness all those natural breezes. You often get natural breezes coming off a golf course. So heaps of louvers everywhere.
Yeah. I saw that.
We never run the aircon for heating or cooling. It's maybe a dozen times a year.
That's impressive.
So air in and air out.
Yeah.
So that's our
So even in the
philosophy.
peak of summer, you don't need it.
No.
Are the louvers situated in such a way that it allows
cross ventilation in and out.
Yeah.
So there's no point in having a louver just on one elevation. You need it on both to pull that air through.
Yeah.
The high ceilings, yes, it has got a dark roof, but I never feel freezing cold, and I never feel really hot in there. It does work really well.
Yeah, that's great.
And I take it that all your insulation's in your roof and your ceiling, and it's only the few off-form walls that you have.
Yes, and there's the bedroom pavilion, which is the perpendicular one, is clad in timber. So obviously that's a lightweight frame, and that's full of insulation. But yes, I don't have a lot of walls to insulate, do I?
Yeah.
In that shot there, I can see that you've got fundamentally three parallel lines running through there with the benches and the seating and that the way that it's laid out there. You look as though it looks as though you've really worked hard to maintain a strong visual structure throughout the entire design, so that when your eye falls into it, it actually it's always looking at something beautiful.
Yes, exactly. I think that photograph really captures it well. If you look behind the bench, I didn't want a tiled bench splashback. I didn't want overheads. I didn't want a range hood. So that rear island appears to cantilever off of that wall, and my splashback is full height glass from bench top to ceiling. I then have a downdraft range hood, so that's coming up out of the bench top.
So that's sucked down.
Yes, so that lifts up, and then pulls the air when you're using the cooktop, pulls the air down and out through the external wall at low level behind that bench top. So again, I suppose the house is based on very linear pavilions. That space there is also based on, like you mentioned, that linear look. But it's all on such a large scale. Like that bench top's 5 meters long, so it's a lot of bench top for somebody who doesn't cook.
No, that's great. And look, there's so much natural light that just feeds into the dwelling, which is great.
Yeah, natural light to me, again, is a luxury. If you've been to the UK, you know we live in individual small rooms. So a living room is in a room, a dining room is another room. We don't get the benefit of all this natural daylight. So I feel that my architecture and therefore my construction embraces natural daylight. And I've been told many times that I design like a Queenslander, not a POM. So I think I should have actually been born here. So yes, light is a privilege as well as space and volume, and I'm just lucky to have all that acreage around me and to bring all of those beautiful colours inside. So, and with all the glass as well, you pick up so many reflections that you don't just see that feature palm tree once, you see it 2 or 3 times at different times of the day in a piece of glass where it's picking up a reflection. So yes, we do see the beauty of our surroundings all the time.
Yeah. Did you face many challenges with all your structurally visible steel?
Yes, very much so. And I wanted, like the engineer was quite surprised because I'm all about concealing structure. So all my structural posts are normally wrapped within my glazing system. And when I said, look, I wanted to have an exposed sort of portal frame, he said, he was quite shocked. He said, that doesn't seem like your thing. And then he said, what sort of size are we talking? And then we had to sort of break it down into elements because we couldn't transport it. And then I wanted it galvanised, and we couldn't find a plant long enough to take it in the entire section. And then I didn't just want a square post, so that's 2 U sections that are bolted together with a spacing plate, so it's all bolted through, and the bolts all had to align, and I had to choose a certain designer bolt because it's up close and personal, so it's very tactile. And I love that beam, and
because that'd be 15, 20 odd metres long.
Oh, at least, yes. It's in sections, so that's in 3 bays.
So you had to order 3 pieces and get them site welded?
Yep.
Then were they powder coated and primed on site, or how did
they were primed and then painted on site because of the length? Yes, so they arrived on site and they were craned in.
Yeah.
And then, yes, all painted on site by our fantastic painter.
Now, I noticed the transition from the indoor to the outdoor. It's a lovely transition because it's got same materials, or same colours.
Yes.
And also same height.
Yes.
And you've really just got the tracks in there for the doors.
Yes.
So, again, it adds to that sense of lots of space, lots of visual space. There's no visual delineation between indoors and outdoors.
And as you can see, I've managed to take out that corner post where it turns
which is not
through.
an easy thing to do.
No, so there's an awful lot of steel work in that head section between the high level glazing and those sliding doors.
Is that a window above that corner?
So there's a butt jointed corner window in there, and I do a lot with butt jointed corner windows because I believe it takes away the definition of a corner of a room. It lets the actual room bleed out into the external space. So yes, there's a huge piece of steel in there with a very large backspan as well, because obviously you can't just cantilever without a backspan. So yes, that was a challenge, and I just said to the engineer, oh, just look for the sky hooks. They're in the back of the brochure somewhere. That will hold it all up.
Are those tracks flush with both floors?
Yes, they are. So don't need to have a vacuum. I can just get the Husqvarna blower out and just blow through.
What was the idea with
That's a good one to talk about.
oblique pool? Because everything else is very linear, not overly pointy.
But it's not.
Good question.
If you take the roof structure, actually is the inspiration. So the roof structure goes to a really extreme point. And I can remember when we were detailing that initially, we were just thinking, oh, yes, we can do like an aluminium sort of coned nosing. And we can have timbers to support all that. We can frame it up. And then when we started thinking about it in a bit more detail on site, we said no, because if then somebody climbs up on the roof to clean the roof, and there's too much load put on it. So once the steel frame was up, we then had to make a decision to achieve that pointed look, and I wasn't prepared to accept a 30 mil point. I wanted to go down to sort of 5 mil. So we had to have these, we call them fishtail plates, sort of outrigger plates, fabricated and site welded. But because even though it's a flat roof, it's falling at 1 degree, and there's all different roof spans because of the different pavilions. I think there was 37 different configurations of plate. Wow. So they all had to be welded on in situ, and a couple of them had to be recut. And then we also had to really carefully review what we call an IFC model, which is a 3-dimensional structural steel model, because we found that when the fabricators had done their drawings, that some of those fishtail plates were actually projecting through my soffit. So then those had to be recut and refabricated. So that point of the roof was a huge sort of design input, financial input. It wasn't in the original sort of budget.
Because to get that cut on site again, it's super expensive.
Oh, yeah, hugely. And then all the working at that high level on the end where it's 4.5 metres. So that point is an area that is such a strong impact to me for the roof element. And then I've reflected it through in the swimming pool. Because I've done the rectangular swimming pool. The last swimming pool was photographed so many times. Even the bench seat, the floating daybed there, follows the angled line of the swimming pool. And I can remember when my box and steel guys turned up, they went, "You sure you want to do this weird shaped swimming pool?" But it makes the house. It's 25 metres long from point to point. And yes, I wanted something sort of dramatic. And then that sharp edge detail is reflected in my kitchen island. So my rear kitchen island actually has that taper. So it's a triangulated end to each of the bench tops. And even the way the stone is cut, I've cut that on an angle, which we call a sharp nose detail. Yep. So that shows my first line on a piece of paper, that off-on concrete wall. As I said, very tactile. Even that slot is aligned with, I've got 3 grass trees that are perfectly lined behind that slot. So when you look at the house from the road, it's very, very private. It's quite sort of austere.
Yes.
The last house was called the Dune glass house, transparent on both elevations, so you could completely see through. Yeah. Whereas this one, I think we've seen all the transparency from the other side, but from this elevation, it's very solid. You can't see into the house. We have a slot window in that timber-clad element, which is just basically from my sort of ankle to my knee when I walk through that corridor. And that's the only glimpse inside that you get until you're invited in. And then when you're invited in, you could then reveal all that transparency.
This is more of a question. One of the reasons why your slab took 6 months to put down, was that because of all these footings that you would have had to run under these off-form concrete walls and whatnot?
Oh, not just that. It was mainly retaining because of the stepped nature of the site. So as you know, when you retain, you then have to waterproof. And I can remember going, "Oh, right, we've got the waterproofers booked in tomorrow." And then we'd wake up at 3 o'clock in the morning, it'd be raining. Oh, no. So we'd be out there with submersible pumps trying to dry it out. But then it would take a week and then it would rain again. So one retaining wall, the one that runs through that living room space and behind the swimming pool, I think maybe took 3 months because I just couldn't get it waterproofed. And just so much concrete in the ground.
Was there ever a point where you thought, wow, okay, this is blowing out of proportion here in terms of budget? How can we wind it back? Or did you just have a vision and you wanted to stick with it?
Often, but I'm not very good with the word compromise. I don't like to... I didn't want it to beat me. I wasn't prepared to let it beat me because I think there is a bit of tall poppy syndrome, women in construction. It's a big, brave project to take on. Yeah. I'm not a highly experienced builder. Like I said, I'm an architect with really good organisation skills, good skills. I surround myself by amazing subbies. And as a builder, I'm only ever as good as my subbies. Not many builders these days are on the tools. I obviously don't wear a tool belt, even though I do have an O-level in woodwork. I'm good at getting people to site when they probably want to be on other jobs, because if I ring them too many times, I think, oh my God, it's like talking to my wife. I'm just going to go there and do it for her to keep her quiet.
So every build project though has its challenges. It has like rough patches. What were some of the rough patches that you experienced in this project?
I think obviously the first hurdle,
it's
sizable.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until we really started to cut the block that we realised what a large project it was.
Yeah.
Like, it's a huge house, huge, especially with two of us living there. And luckily our daughter's come home to live, so there's now 3 people living there. But we do work from there as well. So procurement was really difficult because of the slow supply chain after COVID.
Post-COVID, yeah.
That was an issue. Budget was things like that roof detail. I think you can see from this slide. There's 3 roofs all coming together and meeting at that point. And we didn't have an open checkbook, so we had to sort of be mindful. But again, patience isn't my virtue, so I wasn't prepared to wait for things. And we just had to sort of push through. And we got there in the end. And I can remember we moved in before all the turf was laid. And I can remember my husband saying, we're not moving in until everything's completely finished. I'm not living with the mud again because we're on red clay. And what did we do? We moved in with the mud again.
What are some of the things that you learnt out of this as a project? What are the takeaways for you out of this?
Well, my husband's would be never again. And mine is, when we're going to do the next one. And when am I old enough to get 2 more in, or could we do maybe 3?
Has it changed how you design for others, though?
Yes, it does. I think when you're designing as an architect for your own home, and you're the builder, you've obviously got to make it very buildable. As architects, it's lines on a piece of paper, but we all suffer as architects with that we don't really think of the execution and how it's going to be constructed. And I think the roof example is a classic, really, that we drew something that looked great on paper, but then I was the one left to try and resolve it on site with a number of specialist contractors, to the roofing contractor, the steel fabricator, my colleagues in the office, sort of endless hours poring over that. But we got there in the end, and we've had a great outcome.
Yeah, and what would you say if this is an unfair question, because I was going to ask you to choose one thing that is your favourite element in the whole house. What would it be?
That's easy. My bathroom.
Oh, really?
My bathroom and my swimming pool. Again, it's resort type bathroom. That lovely courtyard. I use the bath every single night rather than a shower. It's just full of light. You can see the beautiful sunlight coming in through the louvers and the shaft of light that comes in across that off-form wall. It's forever changing. And to me, it symbols the end of a day. It's time to finish the day, to wrap the day up, to have a soak in a bubble bath, to catch up with what's been happening with Paul and everything. And it's a bit of a ritual space for me. It's so relax and wind down. Yes, end of day. Let's relax and prepare. We've got another big day ahead of us.
Yeah.
So yeah, that and the swimming pool would be definitely my favourite spaces.
You're a water person.
Yes, definitely.
Yep.
Did you have any inspiration for the colour palette in the home?
I'm quite well known for being a monochromatic architect.
If
there was an image of my walk-in robe, you'd see I wear black or white.
Yeah.
There isn't any other colours. The only other colour you'll see in the house is that pink from the orchids. Mm-hmm. So I commissioned a piece of art, and it's all black dots, and there is just one pink dot in the whole piece. So I don't wear colour. I'm not good with colour. Everything you can see is black, white, and the grey of the concrete, the grey of the stone, and all that beautiful verdant green around the landscaping. Let Mother Nature bring in the colour.
Does monochromatic summarise that as a whole?
Yes, I think so.
Does it just mean black and white?
Yes. Yeah, and
neutral?
the concrete, just very neutral tones.
Okay.
And the sun, the beautiful skies, and like I said, look at the shadow play. It just changes throughout the day. I think colour would be too busy. Colour gives me a bit of a headache.
Yeah.
Even when I go to a hotel, I have to make sure that it's a hotel that only has white bed linen. I couldn't sleep under a coloured doona. So, yes, a little bit obsessive there.
Regarding your landscaping design, did you do that?
Yes, I did. So, yeah, landscaping to me on this project was really important, and it needed to blend with the house and reflect the house. And you can see from these shots the slab, I've actually formed a rebate underneath the slab, so it just slightly hovers over that lawn.
Yep, that for a shadow line effect.
Yes,
Yeah.
so that's got a big 100 mil sort of rebate
Yep.
underneath there, so all of those slabs float. My husband's thing is his lawn, so that is sort of manicured within an inch of its life. We have 2 Husqvarna robots going round, mowing 24 hours a day, and then he also does sit-on mowing, and then he has an old-fashioned cylinder mower to get the stripes.
Yep.
So in
Fantastic.
summer, it's just amazing.
It looks stunning.
Just look at the colours there. That is just, and that the way the house sits in the landscape, it's very subtle and it touches the landscape gently.
Now, you just mentioned something earlier. You said that it was about a 10-month build. Was
Yes.
that correct?
Yeah,
You built this in 10 months.
10 months from the slab.
Okay.
So once the slab was down,
Yep.
6 months for the
Yeah,
slab,
yep,
and then 10
yep.
months for the,
Which is impressive.
which is very impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's because I have my sort of organisation skills. Everyone's lined up. All my subbies don't get the phone call the night before saying I'm ready for you. Everybody's penciled in, and if I need to slide my program, then I slide my program, but I keep them informed.
Yep.
So yes, been organised with all the materials, and when you have issues on site, when you need to go back to the architect and the designer, we're there ready. We're there on site.
Yep.
We bring the laptop down. We look at the 3D model. We try and resolve it then and there, so there's no delays.
Yep. Good stuff. And looking back on the project, if is there anything that you would do differently?
The next house won't be as large,
Okay.
and I probably won't do another acreage one straight away. I might go into town and do something in town. So I feel I need a presence in town rather than acreage, because I'm getting sort of a name for acreage homes.
Got it.
Acreage homes are great to build because you've got all that beauty of space, and they're great for me. I love living on acreage.
The outdoor,
Yes.
the green of the outdoors.
But
hard
it's
to
an
beat.
awful lot to landscape.
Yeah.
And to maintain, it's 2.5 acres, and I like to keep it sort of manicured, so everything's always looked after to the sort of the utmost detail. That's an image of the studio, so that's where all the magic happens with my team, my architectural team and myself. And that's our little courtyard space, and you can see again that beautiful off-form concrete wall. And with the landscaping, sort of less is more, just keeping it really simple. Only a few species of plants, and then drift planting them en masse. I come from a background where landscaping was itsy-bitsy and very complicated and fragmented, whereas here I just specialise in simplicity, yes.
Yep.
So now have built 2 of your own homes, how have they impacted how you build for other people?
Yeah, I just think you're continuously learning. That's, I think, what we've always got to realise as architects and as builders, we never stop learning. And obviously technology changes, challenges come up on site, we resolve them and we learn from them. We make mistakes, but we just all learn from them. We take something away from every single build, and then we then take that and then inform ourselves as architects that maybe we won't do it like that this time. And it's great working in that space because we've got a full-size model. The girls are always grabbing a tape measure and running into the house to measure something, whether it be a height of a bench top or the detail of a shadow line or something. So, and it's great to show clients. It's like a full-size model.
There's a real boldness in what you've done here, and I both architecturally but also financially, because as a fundamentally you almost you're fundamentally being a developer.
Yes.
And so you have really done what many builders and architects have the skill set to do, but don't necessarily have the business background to do it. But you've actually managed to develop something that is ready for sale on market, and that's an impressive thing to have achieved in that time. What sort of advice would you give to architects and builders who are looking to do that kind of thing?
And I agree with you that I'm always surprised at how few architects and builders live in one of their own designs or their own built houses. I couldn't live as an architect, I couldn't live in a house that was designed by someone else.
Because you know
because
what can
I know
be
what
done.
I want.
Yeah.
And so that isn't on the cards. And yes, we did build it with selling in mind, and it is on the market. We took feedback from the last acreage house about somebody said, oh, there's not enough car park positions, so this has got a 6-car garage. But then we've been criticised. We had somebody through that it wasn't big enough. They had a car collection, 12 cars. Could they extend the garage in? And I said, oh, not really. And then we've had people through saying it's too perfect. How could you live in a house that's so perfect and so immaculate? And I said, oh, I think you could mess it up slightly if you wanted to, but this is how we live. We always live because we're always on show. I don't know when I'm going to have a client that coming through that would then want to have a look around the house. So I think recommendation is to build a showcase your work. If you can showcase that in your own home, prospective clients like to see the quality of your work. And it's definitely done its job to bring me more architectural work. So it's a tool, it's a stepping stone, and just watch this space and see what comes up next.
Having used this as a stepping stone onto a bigger platform, how did it feel to be recognised nationally for this project?
Oh, just blown away. I wasn't even going to enter. I was really nervous when I sold the last house because I thought that had sort of reached a sort of a high plateau in terms of awards and publication, and it was saturated in the press. And I was so nervous. I can remember waking up in the night saying, oh, have we done the right thing? Is this going to be not so successful? Is it going to be published at all? And then sort of entering the awards at a local level and then coming up to the state awards. And I said to Paul just said, oh, you're never going to win anything nationally. You're competing against the best of the best in the country. And he said, I'm not even coming. I said, yes, you are. And he said, no. And I said, we're going. And he reluctantly came. And then I can remember him staying at the table at the awards because we picked up, I think, 8 at regional level and then 8 awards at state level. And I think they were getting a bit fed up of calling my name out in Brisbane. And then when we got to the Nationals down in Melbourne, I can remember him holding my hand under the table and saying, oh, you did really well. You did really well, didn't you? Getting to Queensland and picking it out there. And then at the end of the evening, when they called out my name, I was just flabbergasted.
Wow.
And all I thought was, oh, my dad would have been so proud. So proud.
It was the moment.
Yes. And then just now, I feel the goosebumps. Because, yes, I think it's a testament to a great team, from the design team through to all the subcontractors that helped me and for Paul believing in me and letting us do it and committing financially to such a huge project.
When you talk about your experience, like you had a series of setbacks that were not your fault. You know, you can't help that it rains for umpteen weeks in a row.
Yeah.
And it like you really had to persist and labour on and you know.
I needed to prove to myself or to ourselves that we could do it. And I just wanted to prove all those doubters wrong, that I'd taken on such a mammoth monster of a house to build when I'm not a traditional sort of builder, like I say, on the tools. And failure wasn't an option. It just wasn't an option.
Well, I think it's fair to say you've succeeded.
Most definitely.
Yes, I think I've ticked that box.
That's beautiful.
And yes, I think with winning the award has just been the final sort of crown there, hasn't it?
It's fantastic. It is. It really is. And just in terms of the next project, what sort of project have you got in mind?
I think Paul would love it if I said a tiny house, but I don't think I'll be doing a tiny house. Something somewhat more modest. The thought of having neighbours scares me a bit because we do have neighbours, but they're obviously set behind all that beautiful landscape and greenery. So yes, I would like to do something on a smaller block, whether we'd be able to...
in town?
In town, in Noosa.
Similar concept or more contemporary? Or
Paul says not so much black.
Then
black isn't everybody's cup of tea, but a lot of my architecture is light and bright. But I like the robustness of black, and I love the concrete. I'd like to experiment with concrete. And when you use a really simple palette of materials, you rely on texture so much. All my timber cladding is all wire brushed, so you can see the beautiful grain. All the timber floors are wire brushed, so again, that's all lovely oak. So bringing texture in is really important. But
is that cladding wire brushed and charred or painted?
I was originally planning to use the charred until I walked into the showroom in Melbourne and looked at it and brushed up against it and went, oh, I can't live with soot all over my white linen shirt. So it's a wire brushed a Boda cladding from New Zealand, and even like there where we're looking at the fireplace and the TV wall, that's a paneling system, and that was all custom cut for the job. So we designed the profile, and that was all machined.
Is that like
purpose made.
a V-groove?
Yeah, it's like it's a craftwood sheet, and then just joined. But yeah, routed out specifically for the project.
Yeah.
And believe it or not, that sofa's been lugged around the world. That's come from the UK, so that's 25 years old, and that's the sunken living area. So we stepped down a metre into that area, and yeah, our sofa, it was designed around that sofa. That's very sentimental. That it's Italia, B&B Italia.
It's
that we've lugged around the world with us.
And the way that you would use that space, it's quite enveloping.
Yes.
So you really you almost
and it defines
sort
the
of
space.
draws you into it,
Yeah,
doesn't it?
it defines the space.
Yeah.
Perfectly.
Yeah. Awesome. So just step us through the thought process around selling your dream home.
I think because we always built it with the intention of selling it, whereas the last home, the children grew up in the last home and went to school, went to uni, left home from there. Whereas this home has been just predominantly my husband and I.
Yes.
Like I said, our daughter's moved back, but that's probably only temporary. So we're probably not as attached to it because it hasn't been a family home.
Yeah.
It's a vehicle really to step on to the next projects and move on and stretch ourselves again. But just in a different, smaller scale probably.
Well, we look forward to seeing what you do next. But it's come to the point in our episode where we have to play a little game that we do here on Made to Build.
You're not asking me to use a hammer, are you?
Yeah, we are. You have to hammer a nail in. It's called Under the Hammer, and you pick up all the hammers one at a time.
Or 3 of the hammers.
Well, if you have 3 hands, great.
All right.
You read out the question and you answer it however you can.
Okay. So we'll start with the first one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay. If you weren't in building stroke design, what career would you choose? That's easy. I'd be a trauma surgeon or a trauma doctor. I'd love to have studied medicine. It's such a diverse, polar opposite. But yes, I would have loved to have worked in A&E or in be a surgeon. So that would have been my other path I would have taken.
Yep. Very different.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, also.
So, yes, I love all the blood and gore and putting people back together. Name a building stroke design trend that secretly you love or hate. Well, I wouldn't say it's a secret, but at the moment we're loving concrete. And interestingly enough, I used it for the first time at Blackwood. And we had some great form workers, and they're based locally. It's a pair of brothers, and both of them have asked me to design their own home. So both of them, one of them's just being finished on site and the other one's already built. Wow. And I think it's great working with concreters, but I just want to stretch myself next time and do something a little bit different with the concrete. But it seems to be trending really well up on our end of the country, and I think it's a beautiful material. Material to use. So there's going to be a difficult one under one of these, isn't there? Oh, that's the worst question to ask me.
What's the question?
Oh, what's your ultimate tools down playlist? I think I had the musical Gene removed at birth. It's going to be Robbie Williams.
That's not a bad answer.
That's okay.
Angels, because I don't know any. I'm just not good with music, but I know that he did, and I have seen him in concert 3 or 4 times. But that's quite a funny one, that one. My husband will laugh at that. I don't think there is such thing. So what's your top tip for a stress-free build? Organisation. That's all I can say, is being as organised as you possibly can, planning for the worst and hoping for the best all the time.
Yep.
And but it's not an easy gig. Don't go in.
No.
And it does worry me a lot with owner builders, because we have clients come to us, owner builders, and I just think, oh, you don't know what you're letting yourself in for.
No.
I surrounded myself by highly skilled people. I've grown up in construction, and it is very stressful. So it does scare me with this whole owner-builder thing that's going on at the moment, especially up our way. Yeah. So yes. And I don't drink, and I don't drink coffee. I don't smoke. I don't have a way of winding down. So stress is a
good walk.
Yes, a good walk.
Yeah, oh, that's good. Sarah Waller, thank you so much for joining us on Made to Build. It's a beautiful project. Blackwood's definitely worthy of all the accolades. It's really great to actually share the time with you and actually understand more about how it came together and your journey in that. So thank you for your time. Really appreciate it.
Thank you for inviting me down, and come and see you next time you're up in the sunny coast.